woodcutter lived on the borders of the forest with his 2 children, Hansel and Gretel, and his second wife. The stepmother was of cruel nature and did not treat the children well. There is not enough food in the house for all of us, but there are too many mouths to feed. We must get rid of the children, often said the stepmother angrily. The depressed woodcutter could do nothing but feel sad and silently listen to his wife, who wanted him to leave the children so deep inside the forest that they would never come back. Fortunately enough, this conversation was overheard by Hansel. He narrated the plan to his sister, who was then horrified. "Don't worry, Gretel. We will find our way back," said Hansel, and went out to collect white pebbles. The next morning, the wife came and said to the children, "You shall go with your father to the forest today and help him while he cuts wood." The poor woodcutter took the children and went deep inside the forest. Then he said to them, "Wait for me until I return with the wood." Both the children waited for long, but their father did not come back. The children got frightened, and Gretel started weeping. Hansel also felt sad, but consoled Gretel by saying, "We shall find our way back home. I have dropped white pebbles on the way while coming to the forest. We will follow them to go back." Luckily, it was a full moon night. The tiny white pebbles gleamed in the moonlight, and the children found their way home. Next morning, when their stepmother saw them, she was furious. "You are good for nothing. Both the children have come back home," she said to her husband. Next day, the woodcutter again took them to the forest, and this time much more deeper than before. While on their way, Hansel had dropped pieces of bread to find his way back home. But the birds ate the breadcrumbs, so their attempt to return home failed, as they could not find the pieces of bread and hence got lost. They kept walking till suddenly they came across a strange cottage. The walls of the cottage were made of chocolates and icing and candy. "I am hungry. Let us eat," said Gretel, and at once both the children started eating. The sugar candy cottage belonged to a wicked witch who always tried to catch young children for her dinner. The children got frightened looking at her. The witch locked Hansel into a cage and said that she would fatten him up and then eat. To Gretel she said, "You can do the housework. Then I'll make a meal of you too." Daily she used to check Hansel's finger to see if he was getting fatter or not. One day, the witch decided to roast Hansel, and she ordered Gretel to light the oven. She was hungry, so she asked Gretel to check if the oven was hot or not. Gretel replied, "I can't tell if the oven is hot or not." Then angrily the witch shouted, "Useless girl! I will check for myself." When the witch bent down to check the heat, Gretel gave her a good push and closed the oven door. She was burnt alive. Gretel ran and freed her brother. Luck favored the children this time, and soon they found their way back home. They rushed to their father, who announced that their stepmother had left him. He hugged the children, and they lived happily forever.